Earlier this week, I did a video talking about the fact that voter suppression, faulty voting machines, things like that could easily swing major elections in both Texas and Georgia. And as it turns out, faulty voting machines, voter suppression, long lines, and all other forms of voting irregularities absolutely helped to sway voters in both Texas and Georgia. Now, Texas was not quite as intense as what happened in Georgia, so let's focus on Georgia for a moment here. We had people waiting in lines to vote for more than 3 hours, in some instances well over 4 hours. There were reports of people having to leave the lines because obviously they have things they have to do. They have to go to work. They have to pick up their kids. They can't stand there all day long waiting for it. And that was by design. It wasn't an accident that these polling places didn't have enough voting machines. There was one district as part of Atlanta, one precinct, that only brought in 3 voting machines. 3 voting machines for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And then at the end of the day, they had to do a little press conference and say, look, on behalf of everybody here, the poll workers, election officials, we want to apologize for that. Oops, our bad. That wasn't your bad. You did that intentionally because you know that those were predominantly African American districts that could have helped propel Stacey Abrams into the governorship of your state. But Brian Kemp, who happens to be the Secretary of State and in charge of all the elections, was also running for governor, so he wanted to screw as many people as possible. Another precinct had lines that were several hours long because they would only have one voting machine, because they didn't bring enough power cords. Literally didn't have extension cords to plug in the other machines, so people just had to wait. Had to wait for the one person to finish so they could go up and take their turn. One machine. This is all by design. This is all by design. People were posting videos on Twitter of their voting machine. They would push the Democrat name, but instead of the Democrat getting the X by their name, it would immediately just go to the Republican. And they would have to try multiple times in order to get it to go to the Democrat. Multiple times. And if you're not paying complete, absolute attention to that, then you're not going to notice that your vote just got switched. This is all by design. You know, if only we would have been listening to people like Brad Friedman and Greg Palast and Ari Berman, who have been shouting at the top of their lungs, some of them for more than a decade, about the problem of voting machines and voter suppression. Here's a fun idea, ladies and gentlemen. How about we not wait until 2 weeks before the 2020 elections to talk about voter suppression and faulty voting machines again? How about we talk about it every single week until these absolutely democracy-damaging machines and suppression tactics are gone? Because if we forget about it, if we don't think about it again until October of 2020, then we've already lost.